please take your equipment because this is going to be bilingual.
Tá bom. Chama o Mauro na salinha de reunião. Mauro O de Almeida. Ah, ele está ali. Tá. Posso convidar? Gostaria de convidar.
I would like to invite Andreas to be part of this panel.
Governador Mauro Mendes, quando puder, já pode.
Governor Mauro Mendes, when you're able to join us in the panel. Mauro de Almeida, Eugênio Pantoja, from IPAM, Secretary Maureen,
A Marcela Chacon, da Bayer, por favor. Senta aqui. Eugênio, por favor. Crisanto Chavante, cacique Crisanto Chavante, por favor, junte-se a nós.
The Chief Crisanto Chavante, please come to the stage as well. Secretary Taveira.
Bem-vindo, por favor. Podemos começar?
Can we start?
Boa tarde. Good afternoon, everyone. Eu gostaria de dar as boas-vindas.
I'd like to welcome and greet everyone present here. I am Juliana Santiago. I am the General Director at Emergent, the coordinator of the LEAF Coalition. Mr. Secretary of Environment, Mauro O. de Almeida, Secretary of Environment from the state of Amazonas, Eduardo Taveira, and we have our female leadership and the secretariats of environment in the state of Mato Grosso. And we are going to receive the minister from the United Kingdom as well soon. I would like to greet Mrs. Marcela Chacon, the senior manager of BEAR, and Angel Pantoja from IPA, the Research Institute on the Amazon, and we have the Chief Chavante, president of FECOINTE, which is an organization participating in the indigenous organization of the Amazon. On your behalf, I would like to greet all the indigenous leaderships and representatives of traditional peoples, and I'd like to an MOU, and we've been working very closely lately. And ladies and gentlemen, this COP27 is marking Brazil again in the climate agenda with the subnational protagonisms and the implementation of public policies. We must conciliate development, inclusion, and conservation. We all know that in order to fulfill the goals of the Paris Agreement, the forests are key. But it's necessary to have organization and cooperation at the several government levels, from the organized civil society, academia, results to reduce emissions coming from deforestation that will benefit Brazil and the world. More than recognizing the importance of the forests, this is a decisive moment so that we can recognize the people living in the territory, so that we can finance the collective efforts of this set of actors. The coalition has announced more than $1.5 billion at this COP27 and total commitments for the purchase of credits for reduction of high integrity emissions in the voluntary market of carbon. This is representing an the first manufacturer of vehicles adhering to the coalition, the Volkswagen Group and the H&M Group, with more 20 with other 25 companies, including Bayer, Amazon, Unilever, Nestle, Salesforce, McKinsey, and many others supporting the coalition, the Leaf Coalition. The Republic of Korea was also announced at this COP27 as the first Asian government to give support to the Leaf Coalition. South Korea is joining the governments of Norway, represented by Andreas, the United Kingdom, and soon we are going to have the minister with us, and the United States as members of this coalition. All three scopes of their productive chains, with targets in line with scientific standards such as SBTI. The donor countries, in turn, have a long tradition of cooperation with Brazil, channeling resources at national and subnational levels to appreciate the standing forest. But the demand itself is not generating the necessary impact. The territories with forests are the great protagonists of conservation. The participants of the LEAF coalition are supporting the jurisdictional approach because they understand the role of the government through their public policies and the reversion and permanent society in the territory that must participate in this process of construction for this plan for sharing benefits, which is inclusive and just. These are the first steps that in what we expect to be very thriving cooperation. So I would like to share my personal feelings on this day of celebration. I've been working in this agenda of climate finance and international cooperation, representing my country for so many years. I've been working I worked before at the National Development Bank, coordinating the Amazon Fund until the end of 2018, and now as the representative of the Leaf Coalition and Emergent, I am motivated to keep work for the sustainable development of Brazil. And I feel that and now I'd like to give the floor to the next panel members. I'd like to invite Andreas Dal Jorgensen, representative deputy of the climate and environment in Norway, NICFI, to say his words.
Thank you, Juliana, and thank you for your personal contributions, not only to LEAF, but also before that to the Amazon Fund. And I cannot imagine anyone better at trying to mobilize resources from LEAF and from the carbon markets to Brazilian states. Yeah. So this builds on at least more than a decade of experience and learning from REDD+. And of course, it all started with the Amazon Fund and the REDD+ mechanism that we negotiated here in the Climate Convention and what we tried to pilot across the world. For Norway, the Amazon Fund was the one example that we tried to replicate in other countries, that it supported a government policy at national scale, at big scale, supported public policies to land use planning, for enforcement, for a green economy, and to benefit communities. So what we had was a decade of official development assistance, not enough money going to efforts at big scale. And then you had the private sector piloting with small projects, some of them good, but not adding up to what we need. And of what has happened to date, but I hope it is an acceleration of what we've seen to date, and a tool for the states and for the countries to really drive down deforestation quickly. What we had as Norway, we had talked to a number of companies about REDD+, how to do more, how to support at larger scale efforts to reduce deforestation, even at state level and national level. But they were asking, where should we put our money? You know, what's the market player? What's the standard that is applied for at that scale? And so efforts were made to set up a standard that can deliver the high integrity that they expect as buyers. They want to know that indigenous peoples and local communities are part of the strategy, have been consulted and will benefit. And they want to know that the environmental measurements are robust. To negotiate with country after country. This is not their core business, buying carbon. It's something they do in addition to their core business, and they wanted to have a robust market facilitated for them to invest in. So the LEAF Coalition is trying to do those things. It sets a high bar for quality, for environmental and social safeguards, and it facilitates transactions of a number of companies and a number of states and countries. I'm thrilled to see the interest from Brazilian states. You are showing so much leadership in your work, and we've seen that, and we've seen the results of that. We've now seen today signals, not only the signals coming out of the incoming administration, that they want to take rapid action. That's critical. The states have played an important role in the past, and they will play an even more important role, I think, going forward. So I'm really excited to be part of this, and I hope that this is an opportunity, alongside other efforts, to support you with politically, financially, and with operational capacity to meet your goals that you're set for yourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andreas. Obrigada, Andreas. Agora eu gostaria de passar
Now I'd like to give the floor to the Director of Public Policy of IPAN, Eugênio Pantoja, representing the civil society organization supporting the states in this process of adequating to the jurisdictional systems. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to greet Mauro and all the panel members, organizations supporting the states of the Amazon. But what I'd like to say is congratulations. Congratulations to the states who are noticing at LEAF this institutional arrangement with a great opportunity to leverage the policies to diminish deforestation, and especially in this process of sustainable development for the Amazon region, where Crisanto, you've said many times, you want to be part of that and not beneficiaries. This is the great message that we've been noticing from civil society, and especially from the traditional communities of the indigenous peoples of the region. And the second point is the importance of this integration, of implementing the policies in a coordinated way with the federal government. It's not possible that the states depend on the political mood and this this curbing of deforestation, and the international community is available to contribute in this access. The fourth point is the challenge of the states in structuring their jurisdictional systems using the requirements needed that could be based on the Paris Agreement and the Cancun Safeguard, and also in the Warsaw instrument that are responsible for organizing all the set of norms that are necessary for the states. And finally, the restructuring of the Amazon states and the strengthening of the civil society in this process of implementation deforestation policies, restarting the prevention and control plan against deforestation, and in this perspective of developments that are coming in the next Mato Grosso as well. We are working with them. We are also supporting the state of Maranhão, Amapá, and Roraima, and Acre as well in this construction of jurisdictional systems with the support of Norway, with AT&C in these specific cases, so that we can contribute for this process. From the part of IPA, we are still available to the Legal Amazon Consortium and the international cooperation in this constructive and inclusive process, so that we can reach our goals, that is diminishing deforestation, increasing the protection and safety of the indigenous lands and traditional communities, developing the region, especially for the population. So I'd like to thank you again, and this is an invitation for words. Marcela Jacon, she's the senior manager of BEAR, one of the first organizations that came to the LEAF organization in its launching in April 2021, representing the vision of the corporation concerning the coalition and the future perspectives to cooperate to maintain the standing forest. Thank you.
And I want to address your excellencies on this day, because you have a very hard pressure on your shoulders, being the lungs, the breathing lungs of the planet. So we are very happy to be here to talk a little bit about LEAF Coalition and everything that is being done along with the private sector, because we believe that what you're doing and what you have to do for future generations is so big. But we have not set actions until now. And that is the reason we welcome that Brazil is going to be signing documents today that are going to engage in what the LEAF Coalition is doing so far. As Juliana was saying earlier, we have mobilized already $1.5 billion to be invested into nature. And why is that? Because deforestation is not only that. Deforestation is affecting our indigenous communities. Deforestation is taking us into degraded lands that we can no longer use afterwards. It's taking us to flooding. It's taking us to droughts. And when we see the face of women on top of that, because climate change is not gender neutral, and we see women that are affected the most in all of that, And that is the reason that I was so pleased to be invited by Juliana to be here today in this panel, because we have a voice, not only as companies, not only as countries, but sure that the lungs that we have right now are going to continue breathing, and that the 8 billion people that are alive today are going to be thankful for these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcela. Thank you very much. Obrigada. Então, gostaria de passar a
I'd
palavra
like to give the floor to the Chief Crisanto Chavantucci, President of Secointe, representing the other indigenous leaderships on behalf of COIAB, the coordination that Secointe is part of. Good afternoon to the panel. On behalf of my secretary, I'd like to greet you all. In my speech here.
Desde que eu participo agora pela segunda vez, COP25 em Madrid,
I've been participating at the COP for the second time.
na COP26 veio a nossa representante feminino, a Cameli,
I was at COP25 in Madrid. Our female representative was at COP26 in Glasgow, and I am here again at COP27.
que o mundo está fazendo,
I am following the search
o ECO 92,
initiated at
secretário,
COP92, ECO 92 as we called it.
onde nós começamos.
Juliana, I want to mention when we started. We as civil society, we are on the side, trying to intervene and trying to translate it.
Não só povos indígenas, mas comunidades
Not only
tradicionais
we
do mundo. Não é só no Brasil também.
indigenous people, but we
Passar aqui pra gente.
native people of the world.
Eu
And that is the message that I would like to convey. I want to be loyal.
esse mecanismo de melhora
This is an improvement mechanism
jurisdicional.
of the
Minha fala
red jurisdictional system. This is my speech to leave.
Quem sou eu para mandar, quem sou eu para obrigar?
I'm no one to
Enquanto liderança indígena,
mandate or to oblige, but I am an indigenous who are directly involved with the mitigation of the climate.
Esse mecanismo que também já deram insucesso. De fato, nós, povos indígenas de Mato Grosso,
We,
nós passamos
the indigenous
por
people
essa
of
experiência.
Mato Grosso, we are undergoing this experience.
Trabalhar a mitigação de clima
It is safer to work
é
on climate mitigation
profissional.
in the jurisdictional matter, not privately.
Isso devemos seguir por enquanto.
That's how we should continue doing.
Também vai sugestão para próprio link.
This is a suggestion to leave.
Instrumentos legais.
Let's improve these legal instruments. Against global warming.
Eu vou ser bem assim ousado.
I'm going to be bold
Nós,
here.
indígenas do Brasil,
We indigenous peoples of Brazil, especially in the Brazilian Amazon, we are preparing ourselves. We have today our fund,
Fundo Indígena da Amazônia Brasileira,
the Indigenous Fund of the Brazilian Amazon.
nem
because not all systems are efficient, not all tools are efficient. So it's important that we have the option of these tools so that we can face, even if it's too late, global warming. Because it's everyone's responsibility. Message directly to you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you for this sensitivity. Thank you to the secretariats and the governors. Thank you to the state of Acre, to the state of Mato Grosso. Let other states come because this is everybody's cause. Thank you very much. Thank you, Crisão Chavante.
Of the United Kingdom, Mr. Graham Stewart, to join us in the stand. Thank you so much, Minister, to come. Agradeço ao ministro do Reino Unido. Deixa ele chegar, vou passar primeiro para o secretário. Gostaria de passar agora a palavra.
Firstly, I will pass the floor to our secretary of the coalition. I'll pass the floor to her firstly. Good afternoon, everyone. I will greet this roundtable of authorities represented by Juliana and the minister. My colleague secretaries José Mauro and Taveira, and especially I will greet Crisanto, our indigenous leader, who has worked with the state of Mato Grosso in one of the most successful experiences in the country, the Red Plus program that translates the trajectory of the state of Mato Grosso in the implementation of the Red strategy. I would like to greet my team, especially represented by the coordinator, Ligia, is that we can evolve along with LEAF in the discussions that can enable the implementation of this strategy in the next few years in large scale. Our challenges are as big as the territorial extension of our states. Diversity of our culture and of our population, as Crisanto said, expand our challenges. The state of Mato Grosso has as its pillars the sustainable production and the conservation of its diversity. Within its RAM program, the structuring Native people, including this population of the state, in the discussions on how to apply the resources and guarantee that these resources will change people's lives and make the difference in our state. So the state government of Mato Grosso feels honored in being one of the first states to sign this challenge, to sign this commitment, this project, commitment to this project in the state of Mato Grosso and in the Brazilian Amazon. Thank you very much, Secretary. Now I'll pass the floor to Secretary Eduardo Taveira, the Environment Secretary of Amazonas and the President of the Technical Chamber of the GCS Task Force, so that the Chamber of Entities of the Environment, I'm going to greet her and the whole roundtable. Juliana, thank you very much for the invitation to the state of Amazonas. It's a great honor to contribute to this coalition. This is part of what we have done here in Brazil to understand how this could be very beneficial to the states in general. We have worked together to build the best practices that make sense to the states and to the companies that are investing resources. Of course, these high integrity credits are very important to the states and to the new toward the standing forests and the services that are provided by the native populations. I am a little repetitive in these opportunities because we're talking about the same urgency. We're searching for mechanisms to reduce the impact of the climate change caused by the accumulation of the greenhouse gases, especially the carbon in the atmosphere, and we need to remunerate the populations that take care of the forests and that avoid that more carbon is emitted in the forests. We have discussions like how the carbon of high forest and low deforestation is a challenge so that we can release the stored carbon and the difficulties that we have in of this kind is poverty, and the 2030 agenda from the UN establishes that the first SDG is reducing poverty. So all mechanisms have to be aligned towards the same effort of reducing the emissions and reducing poverty at the same time. And this is a simple matter. This is climate justice. Countries that got to this SDG are countries that reduced carbon emissions and countries that generated wealth and did not generate this wealth through deforestation. And the message is, do not leave this responsibility only with the poor countries. The resources should come in the same proportion to face the poverty and the social problems. And we are here committed to reduce even further our emissions, believing in the improvement of the peoples, especially the native peoples, the family workers, the family farmers who depend and who take care of the tropical forests around the world. Thank you very much, Secretary Taveira, for your words. I'm going to let's welcome Governor Elder Barbalho, Governor of Pará, representing the other governors of the region. Governor, without much surprise, since you are arriving from a meeting, let's hear a few words about the expectations of the opportunities that are on your horizon and also the challenges of this agenda of mitigation of the emissions and commitments with the biodiversity. Can you talk a little bit about the commitments? I'm going to greet you all collectively and thank you for the opportunity to take part with the LEAF coalition of another stage towards the reduction of the emissions. I would just want to say that we believe in this very deeply and we're working towards giving the states the regulatory capacity of reducing these emissions at the same time that we are dialoguing with the Brazilian government to streamline this tool so that this tool can effectively happen. This is an important step for us to reimbursement for the carbon capture and so that we can ensure an outlook on the standing forest, living forest, with a new vocation that can generate economic, sustainable opportunities for the Amazon. And thank you very much to this coalition for seeing the Amazon as a solution in this process. Thank you for the trust of the countries involved in the LEAF coalition. Thank you to the private initiatives that are participating in the LEAF coalition and that see in the states of the Amazon an opportunity. I speak as the governor I speak also on behalf of the governors, the other governors of the Amazônia Legal Consortium. All of the governors are involved in this cause, and they all see that this is the key path. I hope that we could get to 2023 in this same path. And before we get to 2023, we can do our homework and we can get an effective return on the efforts that are already being undertaken by the states of Amazônia Legal. I would like to congratulate the non-governmental entities for all their work. For the living forest. Thank you very much. Thank you, Governor Helder Barbalho. Now I would like to pass the floor to the Climate Ministry of the United Kingdom, Graham Stewart.
If you can address some words and speak about the role that UK has also since the beginning in creating the LEAF coalition and looking for the national and supranational jurisdictions and the potential to cooperate with forest protection. Thank you for your presence here.
Thank you so very much, and thank you for inviting me today to represent the United Kingdom as the Minister for Climate. My thanks also to those who've shared their views so far, as well as all of you for attending. Last year, ending deforestation by 2030 would be an enormous step forward for emissions reduction, for biodiversity, for local communities, and for much else. Now, given the people who are likely to be in this room, I'm sure you know the tragic statistics around the levels of forest destruction better than I do, so I won't rehearse them all here. But to give you one, though, it's estimated an area the size of New York's Central Park is disappearing every 18 minutes. Yet, what made the COP26 commitment on deforestation so profound, in my eyes, was how it embodied a new spirit of cooperation, a recognition of the past failures in this area. At Montreal, and this forestry issue has been on the agenda the whole time, but making it work, finding a way through, hasn't. Because we all know that deforestation on a destructive scale hasn't only been happening recently, or even in recent decades. In fact, it's a trend that stretches back for centuries, particularly, it has to be said, in the Western world. And perhaps it's only recently that we've grasped just how destructive that process has been. And suddenly we turn to countries like Brazil, home to the Amazon rainforest, the lungs of the earth, that preserve their forests, demanding that they don't do what we ourselves have done and often did many decades or hundreds of years ago. And those countries understandably turn on one of the most critical environmental issues of our time. I feel that at COP26, though, it seemed like we did finally make progress. It started with an acceptance that forested countries should be financially rewarded for preservation, in the same way that those who have devastated their forests were financially rewarded for doing so too. And the result was the 2030 commitment, underpinned by a series of excellent initiatives, including LEAF, which focuses on the crucial goal of aligning the preservations of our forests with private investment and finance and proper incentives. So since COP26, there has been significant progress, with finance mobilized now reaching $1.5 billion. South Korea has joined as a new I represent the UK. We're providing £175 million to tropical forest countries which have reduced emissions from deforestation and degradation. And this will be delivered through payment for verified emission reductions after they've been independently confirmed, which is a key principle of the high integrity marketplace that LEAF is seeking to support. A further £25 million will provide technical assistance to forest countries so that they can meet the eligibility criteria, the carbon integrity requirements, and the social safeguards which need to be delivered too. And we're clear that all this additional support, UK funding for LEAF, will not be counted towards our nationally determined contributions. So I hope but to make this work, we all need to see more of it. And I want to congratulate Para, Mato Grosso, Amapa, and Amazonas for signing letters of intent today. These are all hugely positive steps taken through recognition of each other's perspectives, recognition that despite all that's gone before, it's now quite simply a matter of life and death for our planet. We're losing species, we're losing ecosystems, we will never be able to recreate. And if we don't reconcile our way of life, our businesses, our politics, our economies, our communities with the natural world on which we all depend, the price we will pay, all of us, rich and poor alike, developed or developing, will be far higher than anything set out in any carbon credit system. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Minister. Obrigada, ministro. Então, agora nós vamos...
Now we are going to start our signatory ceremony of the letter of intention. We have signed it with the Secretary of Environment of Amapá. The Amapá team has left, unfortunately, but we have signed and we are celebrating the other 3 letters.
Vou começar pelo Pará, aproveitando a presença do governador.
I would like to start with Pará, taking the opportunity of the presence of the governor, Elder Barbalho, and the secretary, Mauro de Almeida, and then we are going to have the secretary of the state of Amazonas.
Gostaria agora de convidar a secretária
I'd like to invite Secretary Maureen, representing the state of Pará, so that we can sign. Secretary Maureen. Of intentions. Last but not least, the Secretary of the State of Amazonas. We are going to sign now the letter. And I'd like to invite the global representative of sustainability from Amazon, Jamie Mulligan, to address the final words for the wrap-up of this event.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jamie Mulligan. I lead Amazon's investments in climate mitigation beyond our value chain. Nothing we do in the global mitigation agenda will be enough if we don't also halt tropical deforestation. By my estimation, if we eliminated global emissions from every other sector tomorrow, but continue the current rate of forest loss, we would burn through the global carbon budget before my children have kids of their own, which is why I'm here. Brazil alone, as we know, contributes more than 40% of primary forest loss globally, almost half. But this isn't just a Brazil problem for Brazil to solve on its own. This is a global challenge. We all have a role to play. Clear more forests, raise more livestock, grow more crops, grow the economy, repeat. That's the playbook every developing economy with a forested ecosystem has followed since the agricultural revolution. It wasn't invented in Brazil. And by the way, we can grow agricultural economies by sustainably intensifying production rather than continuing to extensify into the forest. And it turns out that maintaining the forest is necessary to maintain the basic ecosystem functions that allow the surrounding land to be farmed in the first place. This is the central challenge as we see it: leapfrog the conventional agricultural development model to enable a vibrant economic future that leaves the lungs of the planet intact. It will require rigorous enforcement of forest protection laws, but also significant investment in sustainable development in the agricultural sector and a new level of transparency, consultation, inclusion, and empowerment of stakeholders, local communities, indigenous and traditional communities, smallholder farmers who deserve to shape their own future. But let me say a few words about why Amazon is here, despite the obvious corporate buyer of renewable energy. We are rolling out electric delivery vans as we speak. We're slashing packaging material. We're investing in everything from low carbon concrete to sustainable aviation fuel and green hydrogen. But even despite these efforts, we know we can't get to 1.5 degrees without nature. Now, net zero is Amazon's imperative under the climate pledge. It's also the global imperative, and it requires not only rapid decarbonization, but also investments, protection, and restoration of nature. So Amazon helped to create the LEAF Coalition, and we're grateful for leadership and partnership from Norway in that account. And we did so more than anything in anticipation of this moment in Brazil. This is the game for us. This is a global initiative. Everybody needs to come along. Brazil is ground zero for us, and it's our primary focus as Amazon. But ultimately, many billions of dollars will be needed, and we need everybody in. So today, Amazon is issuing a call to action to other companies that are serious about climate action. Join the LEAF Coalition. Put your shoulder to this wheel. Help us turn the tide on deforestation in Brazil. We structured the LEAF Coalition to support what is needed most to tackle deforestation, more effective government policy, and sustainable economic development as determined by the jurisdictions and their stakeholders. Proceeds from LEAF transactions don't go to international investors. They go to jurisdictions to be reinvested in policy implementation and sustainable economic development in local communities. And funding from LEAF is conditional on the full and effective consultation with stakeholders, the recognition of their rights, and equitable benefit sharing. Donors. Communities in Brazil decide how, and we're here to provide the support. So Amazon is not only backing the LEAF Coalition, we're also investing millions of dollars in sustainable agroforestry and restoration, beginning in the state of Pará, in alignment with the state's plans for sustainable development. And we're providing technology to support the state's initiatives in traceability in the livestock sector, environmental compliance validation, and land titling. We're thrilled about the road ahead. We're thrilled about this moment. We're thrilled about the signing of the letters of intent in the LEAF Coalition. We're grateful for all the partnership and the leadership and enthusiasm, and we look forward to working together in the months ahead. Thanks.
Obrigada, Jamie. E agora, portanto,
Thank you, Jamie. And now we end our panel and the ceremony of signature. And hosting other speakers to keep explore the cooperatives of investments in tropical forest and climate mitigation. I'd like to thank Eugênio Passosa, Marcela Jacon, Andreas, who is representing the Norway, Maureen, the Secretary Maureen, Chief Cresanto, the Secretary Taveira, Secretary Eduardo Taveira, and Pará, who left this panel. So thank you for watching and see you in the next opportunity. Thank you.